For more on the movement of U.S. troops to Afghanistan and the current situation as the Taliban moves towards surrounding Kabul, let's bring in CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. Hi, David. What is the message from the Pentagon on the situation in Afghanistan and the current threat facing Kabul?
Well, you won't be surprised to know that the Pentagon says it is concerned by the speed of the Taliban advance and the lack of Afghan resistance to that advance. In the last 7 days, since last Friday, 14 of the 34 provincial capitals in Afghanistan have fallen to the Taliban. The capital of Kabul is not yet under imminent threat of attack, but if you look at the map, it is very, very clear that what the Taliban are trying to do is isolate Kabul, which is a tactic they have used against other cities around the country. You cut off the main roads going in and out, set up your own checkpoints, and you start controlling the commerce of that city, and then you start negotiating and trying to get the forces in that city to surrender. So it is not an encouraging situation at all.
We did hear Pentagon Press Secretary Kirby say just moments ago that there is no inevitable outcome here, and that it's up to the Afghan forces and government to decide the country's fate, which makes it sound a little bit as if beating back the Taliban is simply a matter of will. Is that a fair description of the situation?
Well, I frankly think that we're past that situation. I mean, the Afghan forces have the capacity, the number of troops, the aircraft, the ammunition to beat back the Taliban, but they have shown that they are not willing to do that. What is not inevitable right now is whether or not the Taliban will take over the government, will take over Kabul, and if they do, in what kind of time period. This would be a big decision for the Taliban to go into Kabul, because that means house-to-house fighting in a city that if they won, they would also destroy in the process of winning it. They don't know whether the Afghan forces will fight, and I'm sure they would prefer to go in there without having to fight the Afghan forces. So they may try to negotiate a surrender. Nobody knows what the Taliban are going to do, but it is clear that they are surrounding the capital.
So, David, then what about the U.S. troops and personnel who are there right now? NPR is reporting that American diplomats at the embassy have been asked to destroy sensitive documents and computers. I don't know if you have any reporting on that. What are you hearing about the current situation there?
Well, in the first place, the troops that are supposed to help with this evacuation of diplomats from the embassy have just started to arrive at Karzai International Airport. And over the weekend, the bulk of the 3,000 troops being sent in will be on the ground and ready to coordinate an airlift that can remove thousands of people a day. The State Department insists that this is not a complete evacuation, that it's just a partial withdrawal, but we'll see how far that withdrawal goes. Because once they start it, they, of course, can keep going until there are no American diplomats left in Kabul. The fallback plan, I think, for the State Department is to, if they feel like they have to evacuate the embassy, is to set up a rump embassy at the airport, which would be manned by just a few dozen diplomats. But that would, of course, just be hanging on by your fingernails. So, all right, the State Department's calling this a partial drawdown, and we'll just just see whether that partial drawdown turns into a complete evacuation.
And David, are there any other Americans in other parts of Afghanistan who may need help getting out, or are they pretty much all concentrated in Kabul? And also, is this mission helping to evacuate the Afghan citizens who have helped the Americans there, the ones who are waiting on the processing of those special visas?
The mission is helping Afghans who are waiting for their immigrant visas to be approved, and many of these thousands of people that will be flown out in this airlift are in fact Afghan citizens who will be flown not to the United States but to a third country where they can start or continue the process of getting their visa applied. I am sure there are American citizens, maybe dual Afghan American citizens, elsewhere in the country. I don't have a number. The embassy in Kabul has been warning Americans for some days now to get out while they still can by commercial aviation. But it's also made clear that it's their problem about how they get to the airport in Kabul. They're willing to help with paying the cost of an airplane ticket. But anybody who is out in the country who is an American citizen has to get to Kabul on their own in order to get on a plane out. I guess I should caveat that by saying if there are U.S. agents out there in the country, maybe they are being evacuated secretly.
Mm-hmm. And so, David, what more do we know about the timeline? Is the Pentagon planning to make any changes to the set departure schedule based on the current situation as it evolves?
No. First place, the U.S. military pullout is, for all intents, done. When this new operation started, there were just 650 troops who were providing security at the airport and at the U.S. Embassy. That's all that was left. Now these 3,000 more are going in to help run this airlift. But the end date for the operation, remember, remains August 31st. So that's when this withdrawal is supposed to be completed, but there are no guarantees that everything is going to be done by August 31st. And if there are still Americans at the embassy or at some rump embassy that they set up at the airport, you can certainly see why that some of those troops would remain there to protect the remaining diplomats.
Absolutely. Well, David Martin at the Pentagon, thank you so much.
Sure thing.